Do you guys think we keep 30 in a choppy August, September before the election? Or do you think it was a fun day, but maybe we give it back and retest 25 to 29 before we can really sustainably hold 30?
Who starts?
Arnie, go ahead.
Okay, I'll take my black box with me to try to
Calm down, Jim Cramer.
to see the future. Let me speculate. I personally think that we see a couple of days back and forth toward 30, because as you showed in the stream, that is a price that makes people think a lot. So essentially, you have probably new buyers want to jump in, but you have all the people that maybe started buying Palantir, what was it, like 3-4 years ago already, and maybe they bought very high in the 25 or 30. So in this range, they see green, and you say, you know what? I know this is a resistance level. Let me sell at the resistance level. So that's why you have a lot of friction. Probably this friction could stay a couple of days. But I think mentally now we are in a phase where the fundamentals really support these 30. So I had this question like before the earnings does Palantir really deserve $30 now? I would say it can go there, but it's still not really easy to justify it to stay above 30. Now I would say 30 to me is backed by very strong numbers. Since we are talking of a growth stock, essentially what really matters is yes, the numbers, but is the story associated to these numbers. And I would argue the story right now is as better as it can be. Like I struggle to think how better it can really become at this stage. And I personally think the story will keep improving as we progress. So that's hard to say. So personally, I think these days a bit up, down toward 30. Before the next earnings, we will see something, some crazy spikes. But let me speculate. We will reach some extreme high expectations. So that the next earnings maybe we be disappointed and we go back to 30 again, because the dynamic that was very favorable to us, that Emir underscored of the comparison year on year, which was weak, that generated this 70% growth, that makes you wow. We will see the opposite as it happened in Q4. So I think we will have this plus 70%, hey! Plus 40, plus 50% because we decrease due to the comparison is then this quarter 70%, hey! So and the next quarter probably will be disappointed as well. So my expectation is right now from 30, 35, 40, back to 30, and then moon. But pure speculation.
Yeah.
So you don't think we fall below 30?
I think we can go below 30, but now the dip would be both very fast. So
I agree.
If we stay below 30 for more than 1-2 days, institutional investors will be very, very happy to buy. Because look, think as of a CFA. What you're having right now is a company that is GAAP profitable, is accelerating, crazy free cash flow margin. You have a proof that they are the only AI company that is delivering, no bullshit like C3 AI. And they are the only one now also entering in the S&P 500 also. So which means that in terms of appeal of the stock, that becomes something cooler to have, easier to justify. Think how hard it was a couple of years ago when Palantir was decelerating, SBC was still very high, to say to your investment committee, hey, we should buy Palantir, get out of here. And now we say, oh, we should buy Palantir. Why haven't we bought more?
Right. Yeah, that's big. That's a big mindset shift. Garcia, your thoughts on if we keep 30?
I think so. I think we'll keep 30, but we'll definitely chop, just guessing that we'll chop between 35 and 25. I think we might see some acceleration, to when we hit those levels, I think people will get very excited. You know, a lot of technical investors too. They're like starting to really start, you know, joining on. Like I'm seeing a lot of, you know, cup and handle posts on Twitter now where they're saying my price target with this cup and handle is $45 a share. And a lot of people, when their bias starts kind of confirming, they start piling on, and with the story and fundamentals all kind of creating this almost a perfect storm of it riding up, you know, we could see a good rise. But I'm prepared, you know, to go between 35 and 25. I think the way I've been playing it is just selling a couple calls when I feel that it's starting to get to this level, but I don't sell it on my entire position just because I don't have that 100% confidence. I'm not calling the top 35. I'm just going to say, hey, I might sell a couple covered calls when it hits 35. I might sell it a couple dollars out of this, you know, out of the money, sell $36, $37 strikes when we hit 35. So if we retrace, then I can profit from those covered calls. If we dip down to 25, start selling some cash secured puts at 23. And just, I've been repeating this process, you know, all year. And frankly, it's been working for me. And something I read is that if you have a system that's working for you, don't get distracted by other things, other strategies. You know, you can learn from others and kind of like take little pieces, but don't switch up your entire strategy because you want to double your money quick. You know, if you have something that's working, just keep at it.
Matt, do you think we hold 30?
And for what time horizon?
I would say till the end of the year.
Till the end of the year. Yeah, then I'm with Garcia. You know, I think there's an opportunity, especially right now, with Microsoft kind of, you know, giving us a little bit of love, and how a lot of other companies that have started to kind of, sorry, my nose has started, it's really bad there. A lot of other companies really starting to fall in line. I could see an opportunity where we spike up to 32.50 or 35. Do I see us maintaining 30? I think if we maintain 27% in 3Q and 4Q, and we don't go below 25% year over year revenue growth, then I think there's an opportunity to really stay above that 30% or $30 range. Right now, I would see a case where we could easily drop back down to 25 if the market macroeconomic environment really holds. I mean, I think right now, before we had this earnings call, I was expecting prices to kind of stay around 25, and with the macroeconomics of what was going on in the market, it dropped down to 21, right? And a lot of us bought shares. I'm not talking about last week, right? I'm talking about, you know, a month or so ago when it dropped down to 21. So I could easily see a world where, you know, we're hanging out between 27.50 and 32.50. And it's hard to say without really seeing the third quarter and the fourth quarter. But I'd say if we end up at 2.75 billion in revenue, I would say hanging out at 30 is reasonable. If we start aiming towards closer to $3 billion, if they somehow find, you know, a lot of extra money lying around in the last two quarters somehow, or they get some large deal, then I could easily see a place where we aim towards 35. But for me, I'm sitting here, you know, off of a previous article that I wrote back in February with a fair price towards the end of the year at 25. And I think I need to come off of that in the upward direction. I'm trying to think if I'm actually going to write a price target for year end 2024, if I just go out to 2025 and start doing some gymnastics. I think right now with where I'm at, I was kind of forecasting the 275 always for the revenue. So it kind of makes sense for me, I think, now to maybe start looking out towards year-end 2025, because why write an article that's going to be found out in three months' time, right? It's just going to show up and it's going to blow by. So for me, I think I need to have a price target for year-end 2025. That's what I have for Rocket Lab as well, as a year-end 25. So I'd be kind of curious to see if I looked at it, if we get to the 30% mark, you know, in terms of revenue growth in the third and fourth quarter, what that would really put us at. And I'd say if you hang out the 30% mark, I mean, my numbers in my head were aligning a lot with what Arnie's spreadsheet had in there. It was like just shy of 6 billion in revenue in fiscal year 27. And I think the only difference was you don't finish 24 with 30% growth. So because you're coming from 20 odd percent up to 27, 30. So you end up at like, I don't know, slightly below 30%. So in terms of that, you end up slightly below 6 billion. So I'm just trying to think, where you'd end up in 25. But anyway, to answer your question, I could see a world where that happens, but it all really depends on the macroeconomic environment. I think you also have the tailwinds of rate cuts, which Palantir doesn't need, but the rest of the small caps and mid caps do. And obviously, with that, you'll drag kind of Palantir into that group, and so that might have some tailwinds associated with it as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think we hold 30, and I think end of year is 35. Rate cuts, if things get really bullish and, maybe a certain president ends up winning and we get another rate cut, then I think 40 is possible, especially if we get to that top line 30%. But I think we're holding 30. We might dip again to like 25, 26, like Garcia said, in that 25, 35 range. But I think now the excitement is there. I think people have figured out, at least to an extent, that AI is real and Palantir is the core thesis behind AI in the enterprise. And now they've got the numbers to back it up that are only going to accelerate. So like, if it's only going to accelerate, the story's only going to get better. Why would it have to go back down into the low 20s unless the whole market takes a dip? So I think
I'll tell you
30 is here.
my proxy, my shortcut, my secret. I think if we look at the analyst expectations, it's like what Di Palma says is the price where you need to sell your kidney. Maria is the price that is stick to the reality as of today. So I find myself very aligned always with Mariana. Mariana just increased the fair price, the target price, call it however we want, from 28 to 30. And as I was saying before, I think right now 30 is what the current numbers reflect, with some nice expectations on the future, but we will be happy to be surprised on the future. And we have the knives that previously had a $35 target, now increased to 38 target. I consider the knives the sort of, okay, that is already like the bull case for the year. So it's like my mental model is we are at Mariana price, more or less, we are in the fair zone. If we skyrocket to 40, that is still possible, but I need to be aware that we are in the knife zone, which tends to be very optimistic.